Hello everybody, my name is Midnight Otaku, and today we will continue on with more Umineko no Naku Koro Rondo of the Golden Witch. In the last episode we just received a letter from Beatrice, so let's see what happens. The strange letter that the witch interested in Mario wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Mario was repeatedly barged with questions by Aunt Rosa and the other parents, and became increasingly ill-tempered when they refused to believe her. If the kids tried to butt in, they'd probably ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up, firing back and forth about the gold and the distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we were even there. I'd already guessed they'd been talking like this in the shadows, but I hadn't thought they'd be so blunt. Yeah, now you get to see how your parents act without y'all around. It gave all of us kids a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all the parents wanted more money as soon as possible. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance, back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found, about advance payments and cash. It was so despicable I could hardly bear to watch, even though one of them was my father. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats without being asked to and went to hang out somewhere well away from our parents.
なるほどな。じいさまが飯の席にも顔を出したくない理由がよーくわかったよ。うちの親たちにはすっかり幻滅だぜ。金だの遺産だの。
You can see how they act more and more as they go through.
よくもまあ、あそこまで大っぴらに。
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。
You sure about that?
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。心底呆れたぜ。
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she really felt that way deep inside. The deaths of Jessica's shock made that clear.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。金とか財産とかそういう話になったら、うちの親父たちみたいに強欲むき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さな遺産がどうのこうのなんて話、ヘドが出るぜ。
Jessica pretended to spit violently. The harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
この話はやめようぜ。じい様の隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
Actually, it is y'all's problem.
僕も同感だよ。せめて気を利かせて親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase adults are filthy, but we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a considerable shock. George Anakin was now pretty much an adult, and I'd already been disillusioned with my dad, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But Jessica seemed to be taking it hard. Apparently she received a bigger blow than I thought. She always talks badly about her parents, but it looks like she hadn't changed at all on the inside. Even now she's still a pure-hearted, delicate person who can't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does, and then her parents started raging about going money, inheritance, my money, right in front of all the other parents and the children. It's no surprise she received such a shock from hearing that.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
分かってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
6 years ago, I would get taunting Jessica even after she got all dejected. But I guess I really have grown over the last 6 years. I realize it would be better to leave Jessica alone right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily. God, I can't say that, right? And left the parlor. She probably wanted to be alone for a while. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえばマリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろ
多分まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Maria truly looked up to witches, and she expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter was proof. It would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, thoroughly bombarding Mario with questions and refusing to accept her story. Even for me, it wasn't hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Mario. We couldn't speak to Mario or Jessica. In the end, Georgia and Nikki just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night.
う。台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。ニュースをやってないかな。
George and Nikki started walking over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. Hear the clock, grandfather clock in the background. He hadn't called me over, I really couldn't have cared less what the typhoon was on the scene now. So without going over to the television, I lowered it around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
キリエさんか。大人たちの積もる話はどんな感じなんすか？
She seemed to catch the sarcasm. Kirie-san shrugged.
この胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。嫌になるわ。
まあせいぜいよろしく。じい様の財産分配についてハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら私もそうしたいわ。でもそうもいかない。たとえ発言権がなくてもね。パートナーも大変よ。
Kirie-san took a deep breath, smiling bitterly. That's right. They probably wouldn't let Kirie-san speak since she only married into the family. Still, as Dad's partner, she had no choice but to stay by his side and support him. She's probably had to bear the full brunt of this mental pressure much more than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんすか？相変わらず謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちはおじい様が亡くなった時の遺産分配について兄弟4人で話をまとめようとずっと密約を重ねてきた。そこへ未知の5人目が現れて話をややこしくしようっていうんだから穏便な話のわけもないわ。互いを罵り合ったりかと思えば共闘しようってことになったり、夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
On the one hand, they all want a larger portion than the other siblings, so they're all rivals. But on the other hand, they don't want one yin to be snatched up by anyone other than siblings, so they're also all allies. I haven't told the details, but the siblings were apparently discussing how to protect their shares under various situations, setting up ceasefire agreements and rules to prevent anyone from getting an unfair advantage, even preparing to resort to legal action if absolutely necessary. That they would go this far to preserve their shares was so beyond discussing that you just had to acknowledge their resilience.
ってことはさあベアトリーチェはじい様からの資格ってとこですかね。自分抜きで遺産の分配なんて話を勝手に進めてた息子たちに一泡吹かせたかったんだろうぜ。
何者かしらね、ベアトリーチェって。自称してることが全て本当なら今日まで誰にも知られずにいた謎の人物で、しかもおじい様の隠し黄金の存在を知っていて、その上当主の指輪まで委ねられている。相当に信頼された人物ね。
さすがにほうきにまたがった魔女だとは思わないっすけど、でも魔女と呼ぶに値する怪人物であることは間違いないっすね。
マリアちゃんがそのあたりのことを詳しく話してくれればいいのだけど、みんな小さい子にがっつきすぎだわ。すっかり怯えてしまって、聞けるものも聞けなくなってしまった。あの人たち、北風と太陽とか読んだことないのかしら。
確かなのは、マリアがベアトリーチェと名乗る人物から手紙を受け取ったこと。自分で現れて直接話せばいいものを、手紙を託して今もどこかに身を潜めているっていうシャイな怪人物ですけどね。
ねえバトラ君、ベアトリーチェなんて人物が本当にいると思う？
さあ、あくまでも偽名じゃないっすかね。じい様の代理人としてその妄想の中の魔女の名を名乗ることを許されたとか。
そうじゃなくて、今この六軒島には全部で18人いるの。
She's bringing up an important point.
19人目が存在すると思う？
It's a big question. Are there really a full 18 people on the island right now? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come out to that many.
19人目が存在すると思うって、どういう意味ですか？
言葉通りの意味よ。マリアちゃんに傘を貸した人物は私たち18人の中にはいないらしい。なら19人目がいて、その人物がマリアちゃんに傘を貸したと思うのが妥当じゃない？
ま、そうなりますね。
ならその人物は今どこにいるの？少なくとも雨が降り出した瞬間には島にいた。そしてその後はどんどん天気が悪化して、とても船なんか出せない状態となれば、その人物はまだ島の中にいて、どこかで雨宿りをしていなくてはならない。私たち誰の目にも触れずね。
確かに。俺たちは屋敷やゲストハウスの中を勝手にうろつき回ってましたが、誰も19人目なんかには会ってないわけですよね。でもまあ、これだけの広さのある島ですし、屋敷やゲストハウス以外に雨宿りできるところだってあるのかも。
At about this time, I began to realize what direction Kiri's suspicions were taking us in. Kiri's was not the 19th person that existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought someone we knew well was tricking us.
ベアトリーチェが自称する通りなら、その人物は間違いなく最高の賓客よ。おじい様が信頼する最高の腹心。そんな人物をおじい様が歓待しないわけがない。お屋敷に迎え入れないわけはないのよ。でも私たちは誰も見ていない。
待ってくださいよ。それはちょいと性急な推理じゃないですか？確かに誰の目にも触れてはいないけれど、だからって19人目を否定することにはならないんじゃないですか？何かの理由があってこっそり上陸してずっと隠れているのかも。悪魔の証明ってやつっすよ。いることを証明するのはたやすい。ベアトリーチェってやつが俺たちの前に現れて挨拶すりゃ解決する。でも19人目がいないことを証明するのは不可能っすよ。
バトラ君の推理の仕方は悪くないわ。現在の状況では19人目の存在を認めるにも否定するにも情報が足りない。
It's exactly true at the moment.
でもね、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えると、ほぼ19人目はありえないって断言できちゃうのよ。
Spinning the chessboard around was one of Kirie-san's favorite phrases. I've been influenced by these words and used them myself from time to time. When you get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shaking them by spinning the board around, looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that will give you the upper hand. It means turning things around and putting yourself in your opponent's shoes.
いい？仮に19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェが実在したとして、その人物は誰にも知られることなくこっそりとこの島に上陸し、ずっと隠れていた。何かの理由があってね。 ならどうしてわざわざ姿を現してマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したの？
It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time. But even so, they had appeared openly in front of Maria.
それはほらマリアも言ってた。メッセンジャーにされたって言ってたじゃないですか。マリアが一番年下で素直そうだったからじゃ。
メッセンジャーなんて必要なの？手紙を親族会議の席上に送りたかったら郵送すればいいだけの話よ。4人の兄弟全員に郵送すれば黙殺することもできない。手紙を持参してこっそり手渡す理由がないのよ。
確かになんだかおかしな話っすね。
そもそもベアトリーチェが存在していて、その存在をアピールしたいならみんなの前に堂々と姿を現せばいいだけの話なのに、現れずマリアちゃんという小さな子を通しておぼろげな輪郭だけでその存在を主張しようとする曖昧さ、矛盾。もっと考えて。マリアちゃんの前に姿を現し19人目の存在を印象づけるという点と、今この瞬間も私たちの前に姿を現さず隠れ続けている点、これらの矛盾、これを念頭に置いた上でチェス盤をひっくり返すの。つまり19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェがいると印象づけたい人物の目論見は何かよ。
姿を隠したい人物ならその存在をアピールするわけがない。そして姿を現したい人物なら手紙を託すなんて遠回しをするわけがない。ってことは
簡単よ。ベアトリーチェは18人の中にいるのよ。だからこそ18人以外の人物が存在するような幻想を作り出しているのよ。これ見よがしな19人目のアピール。それで得をするのは姿を潜めた19人目じゃない、すでにいる18人の方なのよ。もちろんこの推理は穴だらけ。いくつかの前提がひっくり返るだけですぐに崩れる脆いものだけど、私はほぼ間違いないと見てるわ。
This is starting to feel pretty creepy. Someone let Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter. Supposedly none of the 18 did this, and yet Beatrice was hidden among these 18. What was this person planning? Hiding their true form pretending to be Beatrice.
マリアちゃんの自作自演も疑ったんだけど、文章の内容が非常に手が込んでて、マリアちゃんが自前で用意したとは考えがたい。でもマリアちゃんが何者かと共謀している可能性も否定できないわ。
おいおい、マリアは9歳のお子様だぜ。誰と何を共謀するってんだよ。しかも愚直で真面目で素直なあの性分だぜ。
ええ、私もマリアちゃんの性分はよく理解しているわ。でもだからこそあり得ると思うの。魔女に憧れその存在を盲信している夢見がちな少女、そこにベアトリーチェと名乗る人物が現れて魔女だと名乗ったら、彼女はそれを大喜びで鵜呑みにして信じるんじゃないかしら。
つまりあの肖像画のごついドレスを着て変装すればマリアを騙すことは難しくないと。
その論法になっちゃうと私たち女性陣はみんな疑われちゃうことになるんだけどね。とにかくマリアちゃんが何者に出会ったのか、それの詳細を聞くことがこの謎を解く一番にして最も身近な鍵なのよ。しかしその鍵は少女の心の奥に堅くなに閉ざされてしまったわ。みんなが頭ごなしに魔女の存在を否定し、一体その人物は誰なのかと問い詰めすぎた。マリアちゃんは当分大人には心を開かないでしょうね。
In the hall in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing.
とにかく鍵はマリアちゃんが握ってるわ。ベアトリーチェが18人の中にいるのか19人目なのか、それを知る鍵をね。
マリアは頑固だぜ。あいつへそを曲げるとなかなか機嫌を直さないからな。
大人の私より子供のバトラ君の方が機嫌を直せる確率は高そうよ。彼女の機嫌が直ったら聞いてみて。遺産分配がどうのこうのって話には関心ないけど、こんな王道洋館ミステリーみたいなシチュエーションにはワクワクしちゃわない？マリアちゃんに手紙を渡した人物は一体誰なのか。知的好奇心がうずくわ。
うんざりするような金の話に付き合わされてもワクワクとは実にタフなことだぜ。大人はすげえや。
Is exasperatedly. But I did notice something. Kitty noticed how dejected I was after overhearing our parents' turbulent discussion. I was probably trying to clear the air. At the very least, I'd recovered enough to voice my complaints. She was my real mother, so I've never felt like calling her mom. But it did make me think she's a real adult.
おうガキども、ここにいたのか。キリエも長え化粧直しじゃねえか。俺も次からは化粧をしてくることにするぜ。
ごめんなさい。女の化粧は長いのよ。どう？兄弟水入らずの話し合いは。
さぞや和気あいあいとしてるだろうよ。
Curious then put the weak spot under my arm with her elbow.
一度頭を冷やそうってことで小休止さ。こりゃ夜通しになりそうだぜ。泣けてくれ。
His way of talking hadn't changed, but couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal energetic self.
しかしひでえ雨だな。ゲストハウスに戻るのも嫌になるぜ。夏日姉さんが屋敷で泊まれるよう準備してくれたらしい。どうする
？3階になった時に考えてもいいんじゃない？部屋に戻る体力もなくなってたら、その時はお世話になりましょうよ。
そうだな。その時に考えりゃいいか。バトラーはどうする？
俺がいちゃお邪魔だろうからよ。気使って向こうに戻るぜ。
そうか。すぐ戻るのか。
さあな。一人で戻ったって寂しいしよ。子供全員で揃って帰ることにするぜ。
そうだな。そうするといい。それでバトラー、お前今夜はそうは簡単には寝ないだろう。
多分いとこたちとおしゃべりしてるだろうからな。夜更かししそうな気配はあるぜ。それがどうかしたのかよ。
そうか。もし大人たちの会議が終わってお前がまだ起きてたら、ちょいと家族でしたい話があるんだ。
なんだよ。柄にもねえな。
Apparently curious and was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked in a small voice. It looked like Curious-san didn't have a clue what that meant either.
キリエにも聞いてもらいたい話だ。後で話すから、今は聞くな。頼む。
I don't know anyone who neglects the concept of family as much as this old bastard. And now he's saying we're gonna have a talk as a family. Both Curious and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed.
そうビビった顔すんなよ。ビビりてえのは俺の方なんだ。何しろ。
At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant, even though putting on airs of importance wasn't much like my dad.
気持ち悪いぜ親父。今家族は全員揃ってるじゃねえかよ。もったいぶらずに言えよ。
俺は多分今夜殺されるだろうな。
There was a huge crash of thunder. Must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. That is a very dark thing and foreshadowing thing to say. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself, and which always wore a taunting expression, was strangely fair in a way I couldn't really explain. I was so worn out that you looked like a different person.
は何言ってんだよ、柄でもね。
同感よ。どうしたの？急に弱気ね。あなたらしくもない。
俺も化粧直しに行ってくる。ついてくんなよ。
I turned away weakly. After that, only Kiryu and I were left still wide-eyed.
なんだってんだ。まさかあの妙な手紙のせいで親父ビビっちまったのか。連続殺人者の映画の見過ぎだぜ。
Curious, I didn't insert my light her words and continued to stare at my dad's disapproving back.
バトラ君はルドルフさんに今話せと言ったら話さず立ち去った。みんなに話すことがあると言い出しながら答えなかった。どうして？チェス盤をひっくり返す。すると
話すと言っておきながら話せない矛盾。なんすかね。親父側から見ると何か見えてきますか？
ええ、見えるわよ。話したいことがある。でも自分から言い出す勇気がない。だから追ってきて俺に話しかけて聞き出してくれが正解ね。ついてくるなも逆の意味よ。ついてきて俺を問い詰めてくれが正解。まったく甘えん坊さんなんだから。
そういう推理でいいんすか？そんなんめちゃくちゃな。
名探偵や名刑事が男女の気持ちや心を推理できる？できないでしょ？異性の気持ちを探るのは何次元のトリックを暴くよりはるかに高度な技術なのよ。私に言わせれば名作推理小説より恋愛小説の方がよっぽど難解なミステリーなんだから。
はあ、そういうもんすかね。
私はあの甘えん坊さんと一緒にいるわ。普段は虚勢を張ってるけど今夜はかなりの激論で疲れ切ってる。誰かに寄りかかりたい気持ちなんでしょうね。それに応えるのがパートナーの役目よ。
はあ、そりゃお熱いことで。じゃあうちのクソ親父の世話をよろしく頼みますよ。
ええ、任せておいて。
I called out the curious sounds departing back.
え？何？
いや、ありがとよって。おかげで陰鬱な気分がだいぶ晴れたぜ。
ならよかった。コミュニケーションは大事ね。
During the with the Kitty's son followed after Dad. The story could be found in a dimly lit hallway. Now and then, thunder would crash, but this had no effect on Natsui's expression. She looked completely worn out. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsui's mind. Beatrice had reclaimed that in addition to the gold, all the inheritance and property of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Krauss, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family in. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to inherit the headship. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. It was always that they would accept it. There was no need to play some clumsy detective game. Natsui knew that this so-called 19th person Beatrice couldn't exist. Naturally, Beatrice was nothing more than a fictional character used to pass a message that Kinso had written himself. As proof, Kinso had remained stubbornly neutral as to that letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these ridiculous claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore. They had given up the head's ring. In short, Kinso had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Marty the letter. Kinso probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared and someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter in the umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that alone was proof that Kenzo was behind all this. In that case, it was the same as Kenzo trying to butt in on the siblings' private discussion. Then Kenzo, by announcing that he would give everything to the person he thought the riddle could weaken Krauss's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kenzo had eavesdropped on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day, so he'd known how Krauss had starved off the attack by the other three. And to make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out the strange letter, which benefited Krauss's rivals. He was trying to push this crazy theory so that Rosa had a weak position among the siblings because of her age, which one with Eva and Rudolph. Then with a 3-to-1 advantage, they'd be able to overwhelm Krauss yet again and make their ridiculous theories get accepted by force. And by doing that, he gave them the power to resettle what had once been a nearly decided conflict. They had now started repeatedly pressing Krauss to pay them a large amount of money, using the condition that all the siblings would guarantee Krauss's position as the successor. Talk about advance payments was being brought up again despite having been rejected once. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Ushiromiya family store of wealth was vast. The store of wealth alone was more than enough. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kenzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they weren't that interested in the gold itself, Kenzo managed to instill the lifelong fear that on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be granted the headship. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor, Krauss. The assailants found they had been told by Kenzo about something that only Krauss could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsuri is Krauss's only ally in this painful position, as his wife wanted to fight alongside him. She kept trying to explain to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce and that there was no need for him to compromise. Krauss had always told Natsuri. He had told all the siblings. He always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than an illusion created by Kenzo. Therefore, Natsuri had believed it as his wife, and had supported her husband on that foundation. Even so, Natsuri's words didn't reach Krauss. Even though Natsuri fought so hard and let all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and trying to compromise with the other three siblings. Natsuri sadly and weakly wondered why she couldn't be of use to him, and then started getting angry. It happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsuri flared up against Krauss. Enraged, she asked why she could not be useful to him. He had then told her that he wanted to talk about something, and invited her into a room that she was normally not allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, just to give her a comfortable feeling.
他の3人の言うこともベアトリーチェを名乗る不審人物の言うことも何も気にかけることはありません。黄金など所詮はお父様が生み出したまやかし。それを見つけられることなどあるわけがない。あなたが跡継ぎであることは盤石です。何を恐れることがあるのです。
You're about to find out. Krauss removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsuri to enter.
入りたまえ。
何ですか？
見せたいものがある。君に初めて見せるものだ。
Natsuri timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Krauss entered behind her, pushing her in, and when he closed the door before turning on the lights, the two were swallowed up by the darkness. One of the stars crawled, and Krauss, locking the door, rang out through the dark.
これは何事ですか？明かりは？
今つける。待ちたまえ。
Just as he said, when Krauss pushed the switch in the wall, a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
それは？
Natsuri had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small round table had been set, and the lights burned only on that table, as if it were leading part in a play. On top of the table, a red tablecloth, the elaborate design had been set out, covered with dust. And on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsui's breath away. A gold bar.
凄まじい純度を持つ黄金のインゴットだよ。こいつがなければ誰も黄金伝説を信じはしなかった。
With an ingot of solid gold, even the faint light sparkled with a noble and dignified glint.
こいつはまともなインゴットじゃない。このインゴットを鋳造したのが国内なのか国外なのか、それすらも私にはわからないんだ。
Took a high level of skill to make the purest solid gold ingots in order to verify that purity. It was certain to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry.
ここを見たまえ、怯えることはない。こいつはただの金塊だ。
And so he following Krauss's words, timidly approached the ingot.
そこだ。
Krauss pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsui concentrated on that section. The one-winged eagle. 99.99% pure gold. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsui's breath was taken away once again.
そうだよ。これこそが親父がベアトリーチェに与えられたといい、保証人のマルソーの会長に任意で一つを抜き取らせて持ち帰らせ、財界のフィクサーたちを信用させたという伝説のインゴットなのだよ。方々に手を尽くして私が見つけた。他の兄弟たちより早くね。
そんな。じゃあお父様の黄金伝説は
実在する。後宮金蔵が授けられたベアトリーチェの黄金は実。
そんな本当にあるなんて。
That's proof right there. Natsuki was shocked. Krauss had always said that Kinza's goal was just a fabrication, so she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. Since he had held definite proof, he had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Krauss was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold he felt to find, costing him everything. But in Natsuki, the truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that as Krauss' wife, she should be his closest confidant. With his wife, she had selflessly supported him, and yet he had hid this fact from her until today. Why?
そこまでに私はあなたの信頼に足りないというのですか。
そういうつもりはない。話す必要がなかっただけだ。
あなたにとっては妻はその程度のものなのですか。
落ち着きたまえ。劇場にすぐ駆られるのは君の悪い癖だ。
あなたがそうさせてるんじゃないですか。私は後宮家に嫁ぎ、今日まであなたの妻として仕えてきました。あなたのために生まれた家を捨て、身も心も捧げてお仕えしてきました。その報いがこれなんですか。そんなことって。
Kasuga is looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsuki, even if he didn't say it out loud.
私はもうあなたの力になれそうもありません。
それでいい。兄弟のトラブルを私が自分の力で解決する。君の力は借りんよ。
違います。これは後宮家のトラブルです。確かに私にはこの身に家紋を刻むことが許されていません。でもあなたの妻です。なのに私には力添えする資格もないのですか。あなた。
君を思えばこそあえて関わらせなかったのだ。これ以上は頭痛に触るだろう。君は今夜はこれで休みたまえ。兄弟の話は兄弟でつける。君は関係ない。 それだけだ。
That sounds like a movie projector when the door is open. Though a headache tormented Natsui, no matter what medicine she took, no matter what scent she burned, it wouldn't heal. In fact, simply wandering alone through the dark corridors and listening to the sound of the ring seemed to be a better cure. I may be Natsui, but I was never Ushiromiya Natsui. I had been despised and treated as a borrowed woman, and insulted when I couldn't even fill that role. Even so, I have tried to properly perform my duties as a wife, but now even my husband has rejected me. I've done my best raising my daughter as if it were the last job left to me. However, I've had no release from my anger, sadness, and they've caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too, because I've been successfully strict in Jessica's education. She dislikes me thoroughly. She despises me for having no interest in anything but grades. There's no longer anything I can do for the Ushiromiya family. No. That's no good. Despite it all, I must help my husband beat back the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The family head won't be around much longer. Eventually, Krauss will succeed the head, and the successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who inherits the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor whom everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Ushiromiya family. In the days to come, that greedy Ushiromiya Eva will probably be planning to find some fault with the main family. If all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession with George set up in her place. Jessica doesn't even want to be the successor. It is regrettable, but George is a man and even more has matured as a person compared to Jessica, who is right in the middle of her rebellious period. His grades are slightly below average. It can be seen at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will have become. A wonderful man who would truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. Was Natsui trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own? Natsui thought back to the days when she had no choice but to marry into the Ushiromiya family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten it, and adamantly attended to the life she had been given as Ushiromiya Natsui, and in so doing, she had built up a new life. But just now, it felt like all that had been casually rejected. Natsui helplessly rested against the glass of the window. The glass, which it was cold thanks to the raindrops beating against it, felt somehow refreshing. Even though it should have been emotionless, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsui. At that point, even if someone had appeared, Natsui didn't intend to pay any attention to them. But she did pay attention, because it was her beloved daughter. Just like always, her words were rough and all like a girl's. Instantly, words of rebuke burst to Natsui's throat. However, their strength gave out and they didn't escape her lips.
Jessica, ごめんね。母さんは頭痛がひどいの。そっとしといてくれる。
そう。
Jessica was seeing her mother in possession of feebleness for the first time, so she was considerably disconcerted. Until just now, she'd been filled with contempt for all of her parents, including her mother. But now those feelings had been completely swept away. Her mother's early exhausted face had wiped them all out. These places words George had told her floated back up in her mind. Our parents are doing their best in their own way. Because their families are counting on them, they can afford to keep everything pleasant and have a heavy responsibility to fight. Maybe her mother had been standing around the stimulated hallway because no one had tried to understand that in her. Jessica hated her mother, so she had no intention of speaking kindly to Natsui just because she was looking a bit frail. So when she attempted to speak kindly to her mother anyway, she had to clench her fists together at the words from deep in her heart.
ずいぶん立て込んだ話をしてるようじゃん。
お前には関係ありません。よそへ行っていなさい。
頭痛ひどい？あ、私薬もらってこようか。
構わないで結構です。お願いだから一人きりにして。
Lucy wasn't being cold. She just wanted her daughter to get far away so that she wouldn't have to bump against Natsui's own short temper, but there was no chance that Jessica would realize this. Jessica hung her head looking sad. Seeing the expression, Natsui recognized the kindness that Jessica was trying to muster. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings.
じゃあ私行くよ。大人の邪魔にならないようにいとこたちと一緒にいるから。じゃあ
お待ちなさい。
She called Jessica, who was trying to leave and looked lonely, to a stop.
何？
気遣いをありがとう。お前を残して寝込むわけにはいきません。
よせよ。縁起でもないぜ。
心配をかけました。もう大丈夫です。私は行きます。
Do I let my daughter see me this feeble any longer? I'll only make her feel more uneasy. With that thought in mind, Natsui left Jessica with words of gratitude made to depart. This time, Jessica called out to her mother's back. Natsui stopped and turned around, asking what business Jessica had with her. But Jessica herself didn't know why she had stopped her mother, and for a while she smiled weirdly, muttering to herself as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something, and she took it out.
あのさ、母さん。私さ、今日お守りもらったんだよ。なんだっけな。魔除けだったっけ？確かそのドアノブにぶら下げてるといいんだっけ？忘れちまったぜ。私が持ってても仕方ないし、母さんにあげるよ。
It was the scorpion charm that Maddie had given her on the beach. Although she heard of its various effects from Maddie, Jessica's mind had gone blank. She was just barely able to see even that much. Jessica, thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept it anyway, immediately drew back the hand she had stuck out, grasping the charm. Though when Natsuki came back to take it, she was extremely shocked.
これは何かの景品？
まあその私も多分そうだろうと思ってるけどよ。こんなおもちゃみたいなお守りじゃご利益は期待できねえよな。
But her mother took the charm from where she grasped it in her hand.
ありがとう。大切にします。ジェシカには今度私が子供の頃大切にしていたお守りを代わりにあげましょう。
別にそんなつもりで渡すんじゃないぜ。でもまあどうしてもって言うんなら。
では私はもう休みます。頭痛がひどいのでジェシカもあまり夜更かしをしすぎないように。
So he put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall.
やっぱり明日も丸一日こんな天気みたいだね。
やれやれ。今日の日中が嘘のようだぜ。
Georgia and Nikiya were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she'd come down a little since we last seen her.
マリアはまだ肖像画前？
いや、さっき戻ってきて、今はそっちのソファーで寝てるぜ。マリアにはもう遅い時間だもんな。
Looking at the clock, I saw it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if it were planning to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to her room.
一応うちのおふくろが屋敷にも部屋を用意してくれたんだけどよ。どうする？
僕はゲストハウスに戻りたいかな。親たちの様子を見る限り、僕たちはお屋敷にいない方がいいと思う。
俺も同感だぜ。子供は邪魔せず引っ込んでろって感じみてえだからな。おとなしくそうするさ。
As we were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Mari.
ローザおばさん、マリアならそこのソファーっすよ。
ありがとう。すっかり眠っちゃってるわね。ベッドに移さないと。
よかったら僕がベッドまで背負っていきましょうか。
ありがとう。助かるわ。ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら。
今話し合ってました。ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
そう。ならマリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら。いとこのみんなと一緒の方がきっと安心できると思うしね。
Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Mari's feelings.
任してくださいよおばさん。何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
それは僕のことかい？僕だけじゃ無理だよ。みんなでだよ。
そうだぜ。バトラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
As we said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
みんなありがとう。私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
おーいマリア、熟睡か？ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Mari muttered something indistinct, rolled over and fell back asleep. Slowly she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。起こすのは悪いな。
うん、僕が背負うよ。
Mari's wife was much lighter than the light. I lifted her up and put her on George and Yankee's back. It was raining hard outside, and Yankee couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Mari at the same time. Luckily, Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krauss' voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return.
困ったわね。もう戻らないと。皆さんゲストハウスまでお戻りですか
After we left the hall and went to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shin stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので私がご案内させていただきます。ちょうどよかったわ、シャノンちゃん。ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていてくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。はい、かしこまりました。
Sunshine brought her umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴、重くねえか？俺が背負うぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。
わかりました。じゃあおやすみなさい、おばさん。
それではお送りしてまいります。ええ、よろしく。
Here as I watched us leave.
マリア、いつもごめんね。
Rosa's moaning voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After going through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。そうすりゃ傘を差してくれるシャノンちゃんのでっけえお乳を二の腕でたっぷり堪能できたってのによ。
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。
ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
It's raining to town by Jessica. We folded up our umbrellas and went to the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？タオルを用意いたしますが。
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。ありがとよ、シャノンちゃん。
そうだ、僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど、よかったら少し一緒しないかい？
あれ、今日のシフト深夜勤は誰になってんだ？
親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。少し変更も出てるみたいなのでちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
あ、大丈夫です。ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので、ちょっと失礼しますね。
Chin Chin gives a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room inside to put Mari to bed for the time being. Mari was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something.
あれ、カノン君？源氏様までこちらに。今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか？
クラウス様の命令があってね、シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
うん。ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの深夜勤、私とクマサワはゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令だ。お前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまるよう。たった今電話があった。
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon and Cannon had been assigned the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in industry. Kumasawa shouldn't have been sleeping at the guest house, while Genji should have been sleeping in the mansion. However, it seemed that Krauss had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house. It's because they don't trust you.
多分ベアトリーチェ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
多分ってどうして？
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Genji, Shin, and Kennen were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kenzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey everyone's orders, but their only boss was Kenzo. Since only Kenzo held the right to employ them, even Krauss could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, Krauss and the others often viewed these servants as Kenzo's underlings and shunned them. And in fact, Kenzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his stay. The sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of the sense of mistrust that it caused. Considering the time Kenzo had let this would definitely be the last family comfortable with the problem the inheritance came up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Krauss definitely wanted to keep Kenzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてもらう。もし何かあったらすぐに呼ぶように。今夜のお客様は特別だ。
はい、かしこまりました。源氏様。
Genji and Matt went behind the screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方？
うん。親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になって、しかもこの天気。多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないから言うけど、ゲストハウス行きになって ちょっと嬉しかったかな。
どうしてだい？意地悪な奥様やエヴァ様から離れられたから？それとも別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんかありません。
そっか。なら二人で深夜勤を頑張ろう。よろしく姉さん。
私ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Chen angered apologetically, gazing at Ken uncertainly. Ken didn't try to meet her eyes and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。深夜勤を仰せつかってる。それに僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。わかるね。
そんなこと分かってます。
Chen's shoulders dropped slightly. She had already expected that Ken, a stickler for the rules, would say something like that, but she still seemed a little discouraged. As Ken felt their logic, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。深夜勤に当たってしまったからご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。行ってきなよ。
私謝ってくるね。
Chen released it from her seat before her brothers make a change and flew out of the servant room after giving a quick bow. As he watched her go, Ken took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノ、私がここにいるからお前も行くといい。
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったからお声をかけられなかっただけだ。言えばお前も誘われている。たまには子供らしく遊んでくるといい。
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうが、僕らは家具ですから。
そうか。
姉さんだって家具です。人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに、僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make powdered cocoa, serving some to Ken as well.
そりゃ本当かよ。そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
バカ、声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Ballard was so surprised that he yelled and not just scattered his guards everywhere. His voice caused Marty to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab and he lowered his voice.
いや、しかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。はあ、なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
George couldn't be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shane came into the room, George suddenly said that he forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shane said she would guide him just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them departed together.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうもなんて思ってたらよ。
そういや、昔っから上司の兄貴はシャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。なるほどな。
天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいも止まないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
そうですか。 ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
George popped out his chest acting proud. Compared to the common appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon took all this abrupt contrast.
さすが。やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
I think this is a new song compared to the other versions. Not really sure
やっ
though.
ぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものがとても大事だって父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。会社を起こすということは城を持ち部下を率いるということ。
I guess it is kind of like that.
うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか？
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだよ。例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対しすぐその場で褒章を与えたり、普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。それを戦場の本陣の中にいながらまめにやり続け、部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをしたとかね。
Guess he really cared about his troops. That's extreme dedication right there.
武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない、戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
The truth was, Shin had already heard the story several years ago, but whenever a discussion with his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time, so Shin just smiled without interrupting or to him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さでもある。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。
That is true.
それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると、自分がいかに未熟で父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
あ、ごめん。別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
すみません。私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shin had no parents. She had been brought up in an orphanage on Mackenzie called the Fukuin House. Although the guidance Kenzo, their honorary director, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. If their efforts made Mackenzia's growth, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Ushiromiya family. This is considered to be the highest honor for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin House all took the names of the character on, and then when they served. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same went for Kenan. All the members of the Fukuin House were orphans. At least they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural to both of them when Kenan called Shannon his sister. And while both Shannon and Kenan were working the mission today, there were several other servants possessing the own character in their names, such as Menon and Lennon, often worked in a rotation schedule. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushimi family for long, and sooner for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shin, who had been working for 10 years, was the notable exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushimi family was over bread and the bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the orphans realized what a harsh task working for the Ushimi family was, they still had to be accepted. Maybe the fact that Shin managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the other students. Maybe she couldn't stuck working for 10 years because she didn't even have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kenzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives, and those excellent servants sent for the frequent house were the only ones he could rely on. Because of that, Kenzo was sometimes unaware the family crushed the servants under his direct control and had them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ。だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい。
どうでしょう。別に私買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったってそれで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい。
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし、奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話やお屋敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
でもそれはシャノンちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her own name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent.
僕は成人し、社会人になってからも勉強して分かったことがある。子供の頃、僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
In school age kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day, spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of the eye, a period where they break through the shells of their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
君の人生はまだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは。
She couldn't deny those words. She'd been unable to harbor any clear doubts about her lifestyle, and since she had never had any hyper goals for change herself, she lazily continued living the way she always did, and if asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. She may have been intentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishments, she would have continued pretending that this as her real life slipped away bit by bit, neglected.
庄司様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
いけないよ。あ、それから今ルール違反が一つあったね。
George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke out into an achieved smile. She already knew what she was being chided for, and she hung her head again, apparently embarrassed.
僕たちしかいないときは、様はなしの約束だよ。
約束では聞けません。ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
じゃあ命令だよ。
はい、かしこまりました。ジョージさん。
Pushing her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time calling it son.
それでいいよ、さやちゃん。
George smiled at Shin, who decided to praise her smile like their bravery. The short exchange allowed me to clear off about their relationship must have church. For a long while, the two talked as if the weather regiment didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about the many memories they built during their relationship no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them, but this could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing each other.
そうだ、君に見せたいものがあって。
なんでしょうか。
George, who had been speaking quickly, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shane seemed to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket, and just like the stuttering George, it took a little while to get it out. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. That particular peculiar shade was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this was what he had been planning. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took something out, and held it for Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものはお受け取りできません。
受け取れない。
いえ、こんなもの私には過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。この指輪を受け取ってね。
命令では従わなくてはなりません。
うん、そうだね。いい子だよ。
She, not wanting to show her bright face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. The ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object meant since ancient times to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on order but on Shane if by his own will.
だから、ここからはもう命令じゃない。さよ、明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。わかるね。
どうすれば。
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから、僕は君に命令はしない。でも指輪は指にするものだからね。気に入ってくれたなら好きな指につけてくれればいい。
She didn't really pretend not to know. She already said what he wanted her to do, but she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。
George turned away from Shane and it just a bit bluntly.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは君のさよの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。わかるね。
So he actually proposed to her.
だからそれが命令。今夜よく考えて明日その返事を見せてほしい。
Shane nodded back. Today was the culmination of their many days spent together. This moment certainly had come as a surprise to Shane.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いとみんなを心配させちゃうよ。
すみません。私お屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
こんな時間に本当かな。
George stared into Shane's face as he laughed mischievously. He definitely thought they shouldn't lie. However, when he saw how she felt, he could sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she wanted to be alone. So because George realized the meaning behind Shane's lie, he accepted it. day down. Well, another hour down, I guess. I think this is probably a good time to call the episode. So without further ado, if you're enjoying the series, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all again in the next episode of Umineko.